you're watching to the Black Eagles podcast, a Beşiktaş talk show.
Ahmet Dursun Sergen aldı. Sergen Bülent yan yana. Sergen Bülent. Sergen. Yanında Tümer var. Tümer'e doğru aksiyon kaybetti. Tümer topu aldı. Sergen aldı. Gol! Gol! Gol! Sergen attı. Sergen attı. Şampiyonluk geldi. Sergen attı. Şampiyonluk geldi.
İbrahim'in pası. Roma. Şimdi Ahmet. İkinci gole gidiyor Beşiktaş. Ahmet. Ve gol!
Hello, Black Eagles. Welcome back to the Black Eagles podcast. We are in the final stretch of the season. Match day 30 has concluded. Beşiktaş have lost on the road against Samsunspor. The first time since 2012 that Beşiktaş lose to Samsunspor. Of course, Samsun have only been back in the Super League for 3 seasons now, I believe.
Yeah.
This was the 6th confrontation between the two sides. So 3 seasons. The first time in 3 seasons they lose to Samsunspor. And it took 2 wonder strikes to do so. We're here to talk about that, but we're also going to preview or look ahead a little bit against towards Thursday, which is really, I think, for now the most important game of the season, the game of the season exactly, because in the league, Kartal, and you already heard him, my co-host today, Kartal Oor from Glasgow, Scotland. Kartal, in the league, we're pretty much done. I'll quickly, I'll just show the standings here. And of course, right now, Gaziantep and Kayseri are playing, so they're not included in this, but they don't really play a role regardless anyway. But as you can see, Beşiktaş sit in 4th place after this defeat. We continue to sit in 4th place, I should say. And really, because of the results from Göztepe and Başakşehir, Göztepe drew away at Kocaeli 1-1. And Başakşehir actually snuck a point away at Trabzon, also 1-1 in the dying minutes. Both teams actually in the dying minutes, but Göztepe actually lost 2 points in the dying minutes. Başakşehir gained a point in the dying minutes. But with that, they are now both on 48 points. Beşiktaş on 55 points. And Trabzonspor on 65 points. So Beşiktaş sandwiched in there between the 3rd and the 5th place, a 10-point cushion looking up, a 7-point cushion looking down. So really, with 4 games to go, 12 more points to be gained, Beşiktaş are virtually guaranteed to stay in 4th place. There's no realistic chance left at 3rd place. It had already been the case for a few weeks, I would say, really ever since the Fenerbahçe derby. But also,
honestly,
I'm
going to take it a step further and say our league campaign finished after the Galatasaray game.
Yeah, maybe. But for now,
because the gap win with Trabzon went up to 8, and Trabzon have been very consistent. So at that point, to be honest, I thought it was over. I've not really been hyped about the league games, to be honest, since
no, I understand.
The Galatasaray game.
But this
I wasn't.
But this game's, though, Kartal felt like this was the first game where you could really tell that it didn't matter anymore. Even I don't want to say the players didn't give 100%, but you could tell there was a little bit of reluctance to maybe go all out, especially once Samsunspor scored those goals. And you kind of had the feeling like if this was a goal with a game with some importance to it, maybe we try and force to get a point in the last minutes, but you kind of felt like they weren't going to overexert themselves in the second half after going down 2 goals. And I agree with what you're saying that maybe the league has felt done since after the Galatasaray game, but if we're looking at the table, we still had plenty to play for even after that because we had to guarantee 4th place. But right now with 4 games left and having a 7-point cushion towards Göztepe and Başakşehir, and really, Kartal, if you think about it, an 8-point cushion because we have the head-to-head with both of them. And as you know, in Turkey, the head-to-head is the tiebreaker. And really, if Beşiktaş finish level with those 2 teams were to finish level, they would still finish in 4th place. So really, Beşiktaş would have to, in the last 4 games, drop 8 points, and Göztepe and Başakşehir would have to win everything. And I have to check, but I think they might even still play each other. I could be wrong. But yeah, basically, you've had the feeling since after the Galatasaray game that it's been done, but now I feel like it's truly done with only 4 games left to go.
Yeah, I mean, it's done, man. But I still don't think yesterday's performance was at all acceptable. It was disgraceful, in my opinion. We went 90 minutes without creating a clear-cut opportunity. Maybe you could say the one that the Udokai couldn't get his foot on was clear-cut.
That's a good chance, yeah.
Ultimately, he couldn't get his foot to the ball, so it didn't turn out. It wasn't even a shot, really. I mean, it should have been a great chance, but he couldn't get his foot to it. Yeah. Other than that, it's not acceptable for Beşiktaş to go full 90 minutes without creating anything. I think it was a disgraceful performance. I think the players should be ashamed of themselves after yesterday's performance, and I think the coach should be looking himself in the mirror as well. It was a disgraceful performance.
Yeah, and of course what you're alluding to here, and I'll bring the stats up straight away. Normally we do the lineup first, but I feel like can easily change it up here. So if we look at the stats here, it was a pretty even game all in all. Honestly,
I don't think so, man. I don't think so. I think in the second half they deserved to beat us, man. They had a good few chances. I think in the second half they had a few big chances. I think.
What big chances did they have? They had exactly 0 if you look at the stats here.
Yeah, that's what FotMob says. But they had quite a few chances in the box. Holse had a chance. Wandel Nagy had a chance. There was one more as well. I think FotMob has been harsh to them there. I think in the second half, Olivier and Cham, I think, had a big chance in the first half as well. I think in the second half they were by far and away a much better.
But I guess that was maybe a shot from a difficult position or something in order not to qualify for a big chance. I think it was in large. I don't really recall any really big chances for them, quite frankly. In the first half, yes, the Incham one, but let's be honest, like both their goals were wonderful strikes from outside the box, but you can hardly call those clear-cut chances. I think the XG is quite accurate. You can argue whether or not their amount of big chances is accurate, but I think you can't really argue with that XG. This wasn't the game with ample opportunities for either side, really. And of course, XG here for Beşiktaş is going to be a little bit skewed because of the penalty. So, deduct like 0.75 off of that or something. Beşiktaş's XG basically was 0.64 or 0.74 at best. That's what the realistic XG for Beşiktaş would have been in this game. As you can see, the ball possession pretty balanced. I think in the first half we were probably up in ball possession because I actually thought, other than the fact that we didn't have chances, I think we played a very decent first half, because at the end of the day you have to remember, Kartal, this is Samsunspor away. Samsunspor, especially last season and this season, I think one of the best teams in the league. Their ranking maybe doesn't 100% reflect that. They're sitting currently in 7th place with a not great chances to go to Europe. Of course, 5th place will in all likelihood go to Europe, because the winner of the Turkish Cup is more than likely coming out of the top 4, bar any major upsets in the Turkish Cup, because all top 4 sides are still in the Turkish Cup right now. So if one of those teams wins the league, number 5 goes to Europe. That means for Samsunspor it's going to be difficult. They're 6 points back on both Başakşehir and Göztepe. They do have the advantage. They still play Göztepe at least. I don't know if they still play Başakşehir, so it's not impossible for them. They had a fantastic run in the Conference League, so it's almost a shame if they wouldn't go to the Conference League again this season. But my point being here, I think you can't be too harsh in the sense that Samsunspor away is not an easy game. If you remember last season, we won 2-0 there, but it was a very difficult match. In the first half, I thought we looked quite composed. We controlled the game. Yes, they had one good chance via Encham, as you mentioned. But other than that, it was all Beşiktaş in the sense that we controlled the match, we passed it around well. But then in the final third, no end product. Cengiz, I thought, was dreadful. El Bilal was non-existent. And I think that was the biggest issue for us, that just those wings, as it has been for the entire season, they've been way too underwhelming. But to go back to those stats, Kartal, I do think this kind of shows that this wasn't... I mean, you mentioned after the game, I think we got... What did you mention? Got slapped? Or no. Spanked. I think you said spanked by Samsun. I really don't agree with that sort of statement. I don't remember if you... What exactly you said? You said something along those lines.
Probably did say spanked. That sounds like something I would say.
Yeah. Do you stand by that statement? Because
I think in the second half, they were by far and away the better team than we were. I thought we were a disgrace. I think the players should be ashamed of themselves, and the coach should be looking at himself in the mirror as well. And that was a disgusting performance, if you ask me. Very, very disappointing. And I think in the second half, Potmob's done them a bit dirty. I think they could have scored more in that second half potentially.
I don't know.
Whereas we done fuck all, apart from get a penalty.
Yeah, we did. Disgusting. I think that's your words are very, very harsh. I think. I don't know. I mean, harsh in the sense that I didn't have the feeling at any point like we were dog shit, horrendous, or anything like that. But yeah, we
are dog shit.
We
can't see if you're the fucking Beşiktaş, man, and you can't create one big chance in 90 minutes, apart from a penalty, you're fucking dog shit, man. That's not acceptable for us.
Yeah.
It's not as if we're playing against... Well, it's not as if we're playing against a huge team where we just can't touch them.
Yeah.
We're playing Samsunspor, we should be able to create some chances.
Yeah.
It's unacceptable.
I've seen worse. I've seen much worse than this.
We've all seen worse, man,
because,
to be fair. We've seen a lot of shit over the years,
because,
but this still isn't acceptable.
I did not have the feeling that Samsun were all over us, that Samsun dominated us. I agree with what you're saying, that they deserve to win it. If any team deserved to win this game, 100% it was Samsunspor. I'm not disputing that. But I was not impressed by their performance. In the first half, I thought they were the worst of the two sides. In fact, I found it quite weird that I had the impression that Beşiktaş were the more hungry team out of the two in the first half, and even I think during the halftime talk in BN Sports, they even said that Beşiktaş daha istekli. Beşiktaş wanted more, which is weird to me because for us this game didn't really mean much at all anymore, and for Samsun it's an opportunity to beat a big team. Having Beşiktaş, Fenerbahçe, Galatasaray come to your home, to your stadium, it's always a massive motivating factor for these sorts of clubs. So I was really surprised and, quite frankly, underwhelmed by their desire to win this in the first half. And in the second half, I think I didn't see that real hunger for a big win either. I think it was kind of sparked a little bit by those two wonder goals, but other than that, I didn't have the impression that Samsun had a great night.
I think from the start of the second half, you could tell that something changed, and this wasn't going to go away. They were pressing us more, I felt. I remember I was watching the game with my brother and my dad, and we were all saying kind of this game doesn't look like it's going to go too well. We just came out of the dressing room not looking good at all. And really, man, there's some players that I want to fucking call out, to be honest, because
let's do that in a second when we do the lineup. Let's quickly run down these stats. I'll do the first half and you do the dual side thing. So 49% ball possession for Samsun, 51 for Beşiktaş, 1.09 xG for Samsun, 1.44 for Beşiktaş. But like I said, that's inflated because of the penalty. 14 total shots for both sides. 5 on target for Samsun, only 3 for Beşiktaş. 20 touches in the opposition box, 26 for Beşiktaş. 0 big chances for Samsun, and really 0 big chances for Beşiktaş as well. But they count the penalty as a big chance, but 0-0 in my opinion here. You can even argue that Samsun, like you said, actually had some big chances. I think that the chance in the first half for Encham was definitely a big chance because it forced Ersin to an excellent save. 390 completed passes at an 84% clip for the hosts, 412 for Beşiktaş at 86% success rate. 17 fouls committed for Samsunspor, only 4 by Beşiktaş, 5 offsides, 0 for Beşiktaş, 1 corner for the home side, 7 for Beşiktaş. I think 5 of those came in the first half though. And then yellow cards, I'm just quickly gonna do that because it ties into the fouls. 5 for Samsun, 2 for Beşiktaş. But those 2 for Beşiktaş do have consequences. Amir Murillo and Ersin Destanoğlu are suspended for the next league game. So that means we get to enjoy Gökhan Sazda again, most likely, and maybe get to see Davis Vazquez in action.
Oh, the choice, man. The choice. But in terms of the duels, we won 41 of them to their 34, so we won 55% of them. Ground duels, we won 31 of them to their 19, so we won 62% of them. Aerial duels, this is interesting, they won 60% of them, 15 to our 10. Successful dribbles, they completed 3, a clip of 43%, which tells you they tried 7. We completed 6, a clip of 60%, which means we tried 10.
Yeah, and to me, this kind of shows what I'm saying, is that it wasn't an impressive performance at all by Samsunspor. They were dominated in the duels, and that is probably why I'm a little softer on this performance, is because I never had the impression that we got played off the mat, so to speak. But this also, I have to say, Kartal, and this is a problem that we've had for not just this season, but also last season. Maybe less so this season, because we've managed to fight our way back into games a few times this season successfully. But this did feel like a game where if it stays 0-0, because in the first half you have the feeling of, okay, this could be a 1-0 win for us. Like you said, in the second half, they pressed us a little bit more. They came out of the dressing room firing a little bit harder. But as soon as they scored, you kind of felt like, oh, okay, we're not getting anything tonight. And for me, the main reason behind that as well, or at least a big part of the reason, is I don't think that anyone wanted to risk getting injured. I don't think anyone wanted to risk the match on Thursday against Alanyaspor for a game that didn't really matter all that much anyway. And whereas I don't think you saw it in the first half necessarily, that this game wasn't all that important for Beşiktaş, I think in the second half you did kind of see it, because they didn't want to overexert themselves, and that's just the impression I have. And you are saying that's disgraceful to an or well, maybe not that exactly, but I saw some comments yesterday in the WhatsApp community as well from people that just every game should be played to win. And while I agree in principle,
it should be.
But Kartal, imagine if you go all out to get something from this game, and you get a point, let's say, after going 2-0 down, but you lose Orkun to an injury, then you can basically forget about the Turkish Cup, right? Like, I understand that as fans, we want to see a team that wants to win every game and plays to win every game. And I think we did play to win this in the first half for sure. But after going 2-0 down, I think we kind of threw the towel in the ring, so to speak. I can't be too upset about this, honestly. I'm not. But yeah.
But like, even if you look at the decisions made by the coach, Jota Silva, I wasn't on last week. Jota Silva played a fantastic game against Antalyaspor. He's benched.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
I understand.
You want me to be honest, man? I don't understand how
it.
these football players can respect Sergen Yalçın when there's clearly no justice in the manner that he hands out the jerseys.
I understand that decision 100%. And I'll explain why.
You understand it?
Yeah, I understand 100%, because El Bilal Touré just returned from an injury. He wasn't ready to start last week, and he wanted him to get match rhythm, so he started him this week. I understand that decision. Now, as Jota...
So do you think Jota should be cut just after he plays a good game like that? That's fair?
I think whether it's fair, if you're Jota, that's not a fun thing, of course. You want to play again. And I think that instead of cutting Jota, he could have started Jota on the right, for example, and then El Bilal on the left. The problem then becomes The problem then becomes is that you have two similar profile wingers now on the pitch, two goal scoring wingers and no creative winger on the pitch. So I kind of understand the choice to go with a Černý/Cengiz on the right and either Jota or El Bilal on the left. I understand.
I start Jota, man.
I understand why you would start Jota, because he was good last week. I agree. But I also understand that the coach starts El Bilal Touré here because he needs to get El Bilal back firing on all cylinders, getting him back in form, because we've got some important games coming up. On Thursday, a very important game. If we win that, we have another very important game in the first or second week of May, in the semifinals of the Turkish Cup. And you want to have everyone ready and available, and you want to have everyone fit and available for that game. And I understand wanting to get El Bilal Touré back up and running as well, because let's be honest, I know a lot of people aren't a big fan of him on the left. I'm not either, but he has played a role so far, a positive role so far this season with some important goals. So I understand wanting to get him back firing on all cylinders. And also, I have to say, Jota, when he came on in the second half here in this game, and Černý as well, they showed a positive impact. So I think Jota is still very, very motivated.
Yeah, but I mean, that's just props to him as an individual, because really, I wouldn't blame him if he looked at the fact, look, I'm not staying here, I'm gone after the season ends. This coach is a prick. He's not giving me a chance. He didn't play me at all at the start, and then I started scoring out almost every game. Got injured, came back. He gave me a couple of chances. Okay, I didn't play well in those chances.
He's got 3 goals, so scoring every game is a bit of an overstatement.
He was scoring consistently. He was making a difference. I mean, let's be honest. The only game he only got maybe a chance in a 3-4 game window.
3 goals, Kata. That's not scoring consistently.
In the period he played, he was making a difference, and he's scoring goals.
Yeah, I agree.
How many games? When was he actually getting a fair chance? Probably 4 or 5 games. He's gotten a fair chance all year.
Yeah, and then he got injured.
The rest of
against,
them are like late sub appearances and stuff like that.
Was it against Samsun he got injured, or was it Antalya? I don't remember. I think it was Samsun, wasn't it? Yeah, but
Samsun's no, because the Karagümrük game is the one he scored. I think that's who we play next week.
But
so it would have been after that.
So he's got 3 goals. That means he scored 2 goals in that period that you mentioned. So I mean.
But how many minutes has he played?
I don't know. It doesn't say. He's played 15 games.
I reckon he's probably got more contributions per 90 minutes than El Bilal Touré.
I would be surprised because El Bilal snuck in quite a few assists. Let's see.
I think the guy was hard done by. I think you cannot say that he's not been hard done by. He's barely had got a chance to play.
No, the
first time he was actually getting some decent minutes, he was making a difference.
El Bilal
gets an injury, comes back, okay.
El Bilal Touré has 10 goal contributions in 20 appearances, and Jota has 3 in 15. Now, obviously, per minute.
It could be very different, yeah.
But, I mean, look, I agree with you. I think Jota should have gotten a lot more playing time than he did. But we also don't know what the contract says. There's an optional trigger there. I mean, I believe there's a trigger in there to make it an obligation, and I assume it has to do with minutes or something along those lines. I think the decision was made at a certain point this season that we don't want to pay 17 million for this guy. So if there's a minutes played related obligation to buy in that contract, then I understand not playing him. That's a very to me, that's a very stupid way to construct the deal, because basically shooting yourself in the foot, because it's not because you might not want to pay. Because I think even, in the good period for Jota, when, like you said, he had a period there where he was contributing. I think even then, none of us were saying, okay, this is a 17 million euro player, but we liked him, right? Like, you have, and even now, like, if you saw him last week, you saw him this week, and there's been plenty of matches this season. He's a guy, he's very hungry. And after his injury, he came back. He wasn't very good for a while, but who knows what kind of an impact that injury had on him. I think there's a player there where if he would have been allowed to play more this season, there probably is a player where you could say after the end of the season, yeah, okay, I could see us paying 7, 8, 9 million for him and it being worth it. He's not a 17 million euro player.
No, he's definitely not.
But he's a good player, no doubt. And I don't know what the details of that deal are, and I think it's a little dangerous to be overly harsh on the decisions made not to play him without knowing how that deal is constructed. Because
and then I think the fans, do we not deserve to know what this type of stuff can?
I mean, I don't know. In football, very rarely these types of things are revealed. If you look at the Premier League, the deals are almost never made public like that. I want to know because I like to know these types of things, and I think in a football climate like Turkey, it's very important to know these things because it can get so emotional and so toxic quickly. So I think it would be very useful. Also, it would protect Sergen, if you think about it. If there is a clause in that contract where it says, okay, if he plays, I'm just going to say 25 games, 45 minutes, then his option to buy is immediately triggered and becomes an obligation. That would protect Sergen in the sense that, okay, it's understandable that he doesn't want to play him for 45 minutes for that many games because of this and this and that. But also, this is Turkey, it would also shine a bad light on the board. It would put them in a kind of precarious position where they will get criticized them for constructing this deal. So that's Turkey, right? Like you have on one side, you kind of want these types of things to come out to protect the coach's decisions or to justify the coach's decisions in the public eye. But then on the other hand, you have a board that won't want stuff like that getting out because it will reflect poorly on them.
Yeah,
you know, that's the.
Well, I've done the math, Can. Jota Silva scored 0.61 goals per 90 minutes, which is actually very impressive in the league. El Bilal Toure has scored 0.33 goals per 90 minutes and has got 0.26 assists per 90 minutes in the league. So
0.54 or
0.59.
0.59 in that's
so he's so if you look at total goals and assist contributions, Jota has a goal and assist every 0.61 and every 0.61 goals and assists every 90 minutes. Toure has 0.59 and Jota doesn't have any assists, so his are all goals. So actually per 90 minutes it's very slightly going in Jota Silva's favour.
Yeah,
which
I
was a guess with myself, but it turned out to be right.
But Cathal, you also have to admit that stuff like that is skewed in favor of the player that plays the least amount of minutes, right?
I mean, yes, it is, but I would like to see Jota Silva play more minutes. Maybe he would have scored a lot more goals.
I mean, I think he should start on Thursday. I think he should start. I think the league now is the place. To me, the league right now is essentially preseason. And the league right now is a place for us to get players who aren't ready for the important cup games. So for me, the best team needs to start on Thursday. And right now, that's Jota and Černý on the wings. But then in the weekend, I would start El Bilal again. Because I think you want to get him that match fitness. Like I said before, for this game, Cathal quickly went out for a break, it seems. But yeah, I mean, I want to see Jota too. I want to see him more too. But I also don't think that Jota is the answer to our problems, which people seem to. I don't know. Like people are just looking for a stick to beat on Sergen right now. And
I don't think Jota's the saviour of Beşiktash or anything like that, but I think we need to have some justice in the way that the jerseys are handed out, and cutting a guy just after a game like that, a performance like that, I think is not right. See, to be honest, I'm less harsh on him playing Cengiz in there because at least you can say that Czerny's been absolutely shit.
Mm-hmm.
And Cengiz did get an assist in the last game, so I'm less annoyed about him playing Cengiz in there than I am about Jota Silva being cut.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not annoyed at either. And let's have a look at that lineup because we've been talking about it for so long now. But the lineup against Samsunspor, of course, was Ersin in goal, Murillo right back, Agbadu, Felix, and Ridvan left back. Then Asllani as the defensive midfielder, Junior Olaitan and Orkun Kukcu in the center. And on the wings, as we just discussed, El Bilal Touré on the left, and Jota Silva on the right, and Oh Hyun-gyu up top. So really the strongest possible lineup, except for those wings, where you can argue, of course, for Czerny, or you can argue for Jota. But like I said, in my opinion, and that really started here because we went into this game with Coulibaly holding, Göztepe to a 1-1 draw, Başakşehir being away at Trabzon. Almost, you knew going in that they weren't gonna win there. And to me, this was a preseason game for us. And I think for the players to an extent as well, even though, like I said, I think they did show desire and all that, but I just think that all focus.
You can't go into a league game when you're Beşiktaş with the mindset that it's a pre-season game. You're representing 20. Let's say
no, but you're misunderstanding what I'm saying.
Fans.
It's a pre-season game in the sense that you want to use these games to get players ready. And get them to their best level possible, because we have a final on Thursday. Then hopefully we'll have a final again on the week of the 7th of May, and then hopefully we'll have a final again at the end of the season. So you want to get all your players ready for those 3 matches. Those are the matches that matter. These 4 remaining, or 5 including this one, league games, they don't matter that much, quite frankly. I understand what you're saying. You want to see the team perform, all that kind of stuff. I understand it, but at the end of the day, I think every Beşiktaş fan would probably accept us getting, like, let's say 7 points out of 12 in the next 4 matches if it means we get to the final and win it. Yeah, of course. No,
you need to win it.
I'm talking.
If you don't win it,
I'm talking about the league.
Then
yes,
you've completely
of
failed.
Course. No, that's the thing. You need to, first and foremost, you need to reach the final. I think that is the bare minimum. Reaching the final, we have a tremendous advantage. We play Alanyaspor at home in a single-legged game. Then we play either Konya or Fenerbahçe at home again in a single-legged game. There is absolutely no excuse. And it's absolutely unacceptable for Beşiktaş not to reach the final. In my opinion, if Beşiktaş do not reach the final, Sergen needs to be sacked. There's no ifs or buts about it. If we do not reach the final, he needs to be sacked. I am not going to say, okay, if we don't win the final, he needs to be sacked, because I think it depends a bit. That's a neutral venue. You're playing probably against Galatasaray or Trabzonspor in that final. So it's a derby, we'll see. But reaching the final is the absolute bare minimum. And to me, if he doesn't, he needs to get sacked. I'm already on the fence on whether or not I want to give him another season to begin with. So if he doesn't reach the final, for me, that's where it stops. I don't know how you feel about that, Captain.
Yeah, I think that's fair, Can. If he doesn't reach the final, he should go. Part of me thinks that he should be given another season, but if he doesn't make the final, and then after all that money spent in January, if we end 4th and don't even win the cup, or don't even make it to the final, I think that's fair enough. I just hope that we're able to attract a decent coach in the summer, man, because we need one. If that happens, of course.
I mean, look, he was so critical of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer when he was a pundit and when Ole was coaching. And I said this last season. I think, especially last season with the team that we had and with the lack of squad balance we had, I always thought it was very difficult and people were being overly harsh on Solskjaer. And if you look at it, Solskjaer, okay, look, he did fail in the sense that he didn't get the cup. He didn't finish third. That was a failure. Or for a lot of people, that was seen as a failure. To me, I'm a little less harsh on that because I think, in general, I honestly think Ole had a good 6 months. I mean, to me, those derbies mean quite a bit. And it to me, it showed that he is a capable coach, or at least he is a capable. He has a capable staff. He is a capable. I don't know. Like with Ole, I had the feeling of this is a coach that can get the most out of this team in the big matches, and he just needs to figure out how to do it in the smaller games. And this season is almost like it's flipped upside down, where Sergen has got it figured out for the most part in the smaller games now since the turn of the year, but the big games he can't quite get it done. And I think for me, for Ole, the biggest issue was squad quality. For Sergen now, it's still squad quality because we still have a big issue on those wings, and really I don't think you can be successful in the sense that you want a big club to be successful if you don't have proper wingers. It's just impossible in my opinion. But it's not like...
I agree with that, Ken.
But it's not like Trabzonspor have world beaters. I mean, they have a really... Zubkov is a good winger, but I mean, they've played Ernest Mucci on the wings quite frequently. He's also played behind the striker, which I think has helped his form. He's of course out injured now. But like, I mean, it's not like Trabzon have this amazing squad either.
On paper, you can't really say their team's better than ours, can you?
Maybe they have a slightly more balanced squad than us, but I don't think it's that much better. And I think we have like a couple. I think they have a good squad, but I think they have a good first 11. I'll put it that way because I think their bench is. They have the same issue as us. They don't have a bench, basically.
Yeah.
Maybe they have a slightly better bench because they have Umut Nair, and who do we have as a second striker, right? Bring back Mustafa Pektemek, please. Put me out of my misery. And that's for people who know me. I hated Mustafa Pektemek. So I mean, like we are in such a poor position when it comes to squad depth. But yeah. I mean.
See if the worst comes to the worst. Look, I want to win the cup and I want Sergen to continue. But see if worst comes to worst and we fail. I just hope that the board sign a coach that plays a 4-3-3 and it plays a similar kind of setup to Sergen, so that way because there is good pieces for that game now. So because I don't want to see them rip the whole thing out and then start again.
Yeah. I think the advantage we have going into next season compared to maybe the last couple of seasons is that for the most part, I think the new arrivals where we all kind of feel like, Orkun obviously, Agbadu, Orhyungyu, Murillo, Olaitan. I think those are the 5 guys where you can say they're gonna form the spine of the team next season. And I think the advantage is that none of those players are players that only fit a certain system. I think they can work perfectly in a 4-3-3. I think they could work in a 3-5-2. I think they could work in a 4-3-3, a 3-4-3. There's this 4-4-2, whatever. Like, I think there's these players. They are not system-specific players. Whereas I think maybe in the past you had some players that might have been. The guy who gets closest to being maybe a system-specific player is maybe Murillo, because he's more a wing back than a right back. But I think that's not a big issue. So, I think that's the advantage going into next season, is that these players are going to fit anyone. Like, even if Sergen gets the sack, I think if you bring in, Roger Schmidt or whatever, I think these players will fit anyone. And I feel like in the past, like, last season we had Rafa, we had Jetson, and it kind of felt like both those guys, maybe Jetson a little bit less so. I think Jetson would actually fit really well in our team right now. But I think Rafa and Jetson were... Yeah, Rafa is kind of like Talisca, right? Like, you have to plan around him. And I feel like Jetson to a lesser extent as well, maybe. So I think with Olaitan and with Orkun in the midfield, you can add either a number 6 there, or you can add another more dynamic midfielder. I don't think you have to play with a pure 6. Oğuz Hanuzyakup, our former midfielder, captain, he said himself, I would love to see a midfield with Orkun, Olaitan and Jetson. I think that would work really well. And that's a midfield without a traditional 6. And
I don't think that would work, man.
I think it would. I think it would, because you see it a lot in the Netherlands as well. You see a lot of Ajax midfields without a traditional 6, Feyenoord or whatever. Like PSV. Like in the Netherlands, you see it's quite frequently a 4-3-3 without a traditional 6. And it works. You just have to have 3 midfielders that are also capable of doing the dirty work, but are also capable of contributing to attack. And I think that works quite well in modern football. I think the traditional 6 is not outdated, because there's still plenty of big clubs that use it as well, of course, but I don't think it's an absolute must anymore. Whereas in the past, like go back 10 years, 15 years, whatever, you had to have at least one breaker 6. I don't think that's a must anymore in modern football. But,
I don't know, man. I think in that system you need to be Orkun that's kind of playing more deep to kind of get the ball forward. I'd rather Orkun's giving that freedom to roam forward.
Well, I mean, both Jetson and Olaitan can perfectly carry the ball forward, right?
I don't. I mean, Olaitan's get decent distribution, but I don't like Jetson's distribution at all.
No, but he doesn't.
Yeah, I think Sangari, man, that's kind of the transfer that sits in my head the most. Ibrahim Sangari, but if you believe the news, Mustafa Karatas just got fucked that with apparently by breaking the news, and now apparently the prices went up. So
yeah, supposedly, I saw that. But I mean, look, the point is that I think we do have a spine of a team right now that will fit most coaches. As long as we don't bring in somebody that is very rigidly trying to play, a very specific system. The advantage is that right now, really, we don't have a proper winger. So you could even bring in a coach that wants to play without a real winger, that wants to play with wing backs.
3-5-2 or something like that.
Yeah, or a 3-4-3 or whatever. You could actually bring in a coach that like that if you wanted to, because we don't have the wingers anyway. So that's a luxury, right? Yeah. But anyway, I don't think this is a performance that we should lose too much sleep over, because I think, on one hand, I do think as well, like, what have we seen so far this season? And we have to look at it in the broader sense. Like, has Sergen as a coach improved us enough? If you look at the table, he hasn't improved us.
The points we have, in terms of points, I think we're... Yeah. Get some more points than we did last year, didn't we?
Last season, we were in the race for 3rd place until the very last day. This season, we're already knocked out cold, 4 games out, or 5 games out, or 6.
Yeah.
But, of course, also there's a team right now in 3rd place that's just performing much better. But really, we should be there in that position. And I think going into the season, we said that anything but 3rd place is unacceptable. And of course, the season goes and so on. I think there was definitely a fair share of misfortune in the first half of the season. But at the end of the day, I think I said this last week with Sinan, is there's almost only so much you can blame on misfortune when you have players like Gökhan Sazda and even Emirhan. And I like Emirhan, and a lot of people like Emirhan, but Emirhan has a serious brain fart in him. And so does Gökhan Sazda. And in the first half of the season, those guys and other guys cost us points. And in the second half of the season now, with Murillo, with Agbadu, and with Felix coming back in, we have looked a lot less error-prone at the back. And that has definitely helped.
I do think Felix could have done better yesterday, closing out Holse and the other guy.
Yeah.
Whose name escapes me just now.
Yeah.
I think he could have done a
Coulibaly.
lot better there, to be honest.
He could have, perhaps, but those aren't howlers, right? That's not stuff of the magnitude of Gökhan Sazda's ass pass to Asensio or Emir Hans putting it on a platter for Duran. Random massive Büyükhatas, you're not seeing those right now. I feel like it's been a while since, I'm not saying that there haven't been bad mistakes, but really other than Gökhan coming on in the second half against Fenerbahce when Murillo had to come off, I can't really remember the last huge error like that, other than maybe Ersin had one in a game that we won like 4-1 or something. So it's been a while since we had those really big major blunders at the back, and it feels like we had one every week in the first half of the season. That's maybe an exaggeration, but there were too many massive errors, individual errors, and we have kind of gotten rid of those a little bit in the second half of the season now. And I think the main reason for that is just simply because we have increased the quality of the players. And then you have to wonder, how much does the coach really impact that side of things? But also, he makes the choice to bring in a Gökhan Sazda. That was his choice. Yeah. And
so was Cengiz Ünder, yeah.
And so was Cengiz.
You could argue maybe to a degree as well, like, what's happened with Vaclav Černý? This guy that was firing on all cylinders, why has he collapsed? Could there potentially be a coaching thing there as well?
Have you read the rumours about that?
I've heard that there's some illness in his family, perhaps.
Yeah, supposedly his wife. His wife supposedly has some issues. I was talking to Ural the other day. We were recording for the financial. We did a video on the finances of the club, which is currently available for the Patreon members and the YouTube members. So if you hit the join button, you can go watch that. It's about an hour of Ural explaining the recent financial audit of the club and why the debt has increased by a whopping 128 million euros. He explained that in great detail and made it make sense, so go and check that out. But in that video, I don't remember if we talked about it in the video or if we talked about it off air after, but he did mention that there was some rumors about Černy's wife, and apparently that Černý is even open to leaving Beşiktaş because there's apparently better treatments in Europe available, so leaving Turkey would be an option for him. So I haven't seen those personally. I have seen some rumors about it being, regarding his wife. So look, I don't know if any of that is true, but if it is true,
I think that
then it's quite understandable that his head is not in the right place to play football right now. And I think if
it's a shame because it could have been a great story, man. With him at our club. Yeah. So that's a real shame. I mean, it's more upsetting for his wife, of course, and his family. I think he's got kids too. It's mainly upsetting for them. But also, if that was the case, if he was to leave after this, and then we could have thought, what would have happened if his wife was healthy and he was able to give himself mentally to the club? Because that run of form between the end of October and the end of December, basically up until the Fenerbahce Cup game, was really a special run of form. One we've not seen from a winger since Rashid Ghazal.
I agree. Yeah, we were even talking about it at that time. Like going into October, we were kind of like, he's got decent numbers, but he's not putting his stamp on the games enough. And then, as you said, like in that run of form, he really was putting his stamp on matches more and more. And we were starting to talk about him is this maybe the first decent winger we've had since Rashid Ghazal, right? and now we're kind of back to square one, where we're like, we haven't had a decent winger since Rachid Ghazal, and that's a shame, really.
It's a shame.
Czerny definitely has that ability to him. And look at and even I think, if maybe he's not at that level of Quaresma, Ghazal. I mean, I think it's difficult to be at that level. Let's be honest.
I'm not going to get another Ricardo Quaresma. Beşiktaş.
Yeah, probably not. Right.
I think at best, like, Czerny for me was going to be like a hybrid between Babel and Ghazal, but not as good as a goal scorer as Babel, and not as good as a playmaker as Ghazal. Like a hybrid in between. I think that's what I had in my mind, but it's just kind of falling apart, unfortunately.
And really, the run of form he's had in recent weeks, it's almost like, do we even want to keep him around as a rotational player, right? Like, he's been so poor that you don't even really want that, because and that mainly has to do with the fact that he is a relatively big earner. I think he's on like 2.2 million a year, which is a decent sized contract. For that type of money, I think you need to be able to put in a better performance. Like Rashica makes similar money, and that's
I mean, that transfer is one of the biggest fiascos, man. And to think I was excited about it because I thought he played very well against us, but I should have listened to you at the time.
You was shit.
There's a reason why you're my Avi, man. I should have listened to you then.
I mean, man, it's unfortunate. I didn't like him at Galatasaray. I thought he was fluffed up because they had a good team and he looked good in that good team, because it's easier to look good. Like, for example, take Roland Salai, for example. I think he looks decent at Galatasaray because, I mean, they're not that great this season, but last season, I think he looks better than he maybe is. And then sometimes you have that with players where, Szymanski, I said the same thing about him at Fenerbahce, right? Like, he looks good because he's part of a really good team right now. Or, sometimes you have to look at the whole puzzle. Sometimes you have players that stand out in teams that aren't doing so well, like Orkun or like Rafa, or Jetson. And those players are special because they are able to stand out in suboptimal conditions. And then you have players who can do really well in optimal conditions, but there's tells that they aren't great players. I still expected more from Rashica. I thought he would at least be a useful rotational player, and let's be honest, he's barely been that.
I mean, yesterday he made a difference. He took that shot from the edge of the box.
Yeah.
That was like one of the best attacks we had all game.
But that's the only attack, maybe. But that's Rashica, right? That's like, he has a couple of moments in him where he does show some quality, but 80% of the time it's suboptimal.
He's not good enough. No, he's not up to it.
Yeah, and at least with Czerny, I think even when he has bad games, he's still gonna give you like a couple of passes, or he makes certain things look simple, which show you that he is a quality footballer. But he's no Ghazal, he's no Quaresma for sure, and he never would be. But he could be a useful player for us if his head is in the game. But at this point, I think we need to look probably ahead, and I mean, we need to bring in at the bare minimum 2 wingers, and even that
2 top quality ones.
Two top quality.
No fucking around until the end of the window, man. We want to see them come first.
Oh yeah.
Especially if we don't win that Turkish Cup, man. We need to be ready for these qualifiers.
Even if you do win the Turkish Cup, Kata, because you still play qualifiers.
Of course, it still should be straight away, but especially if we're going in from round 2 and not the playoffs.
But like, realistically, you should bring in like week 1 of the transfer period. And I know it's not going to happen because this is Beşiktaş and we don't do stuff like that. But realistically, in an ideal world, you would bring in a goalkeeper, a left winger, and a right winger, like week 1 of the season. as soon as that window opens, you bring in those 3 transfers. Because those are the ones we need the most, right? Because Ersin is probably leaving. His contract is up. And okay, maybe he stays. But let's be honest. He should not be our number 1 keeper. And I don't agree with people who criticize him harshly for this performance, for this match. Because I don't understand people sometimes. Like,
yeah, I don't see what that guy could have done on those 2 goals, man.
I mean, I still haven't properly seen that second goal back, but on the first goal, I watched that, and it's like unsavable because the ball goes out and it curls in at the last second, kind of almost, and it's like unsavable almost. Like maybe if you're 2 meters and 20 centimeters or something, and you're like prime Neuer, you save that, but I think very few keepers save that. I don't think it's realistic to expect a save on that shot. The second shot again, like I said, I have to rewatch that, but I don't know. I mean, and then you get the stat that Ersin is in the league together with Bilal Bayazit, the goalkeeper in the league that has conceded the most goals from outside the box, 7. And then you have people on X and on Twitter going mental at Ersin for it. Even somebody, I'm not going to name him, but he professes to be a scout, and then
and happens to live in the same country that you do.
Yeah, and then he goes on this little mini rant about Ersin and Bilal Bayazit being 1.85 m and Ersin being 1.95, and it being basically a scandal for him to concede that many goals outside of the box. And look, I don't remember from the top of my head those other 5 goals he conceded this season from outside the box. I'm sure there were a couple maybe he could have done better, but on these 2, I mean, especially the one, like I said, I don't know what you expect him to do.
Honestly, man, it's just modern social media, and a lot of these guys have these blue ticks, and surely I think he'll get some sort of economic benefit from the interactions they're getting. So if they write something that's going to get people talking, and that's why they write it, because it turns into money for them. So I think that's what it is, man, which I think really is a shame, because ultimately this is a young guy you're talking about. Yeah, he's turning 25. In fact, he's already turned 25. His birthday's on the 1st of January. He's just 25 years old, man, and you're preying on basically writing all this shit about him just to make some money, and that could affect this guy mentally, man. These people are human. People forget about this, and
but even
a lot of them do read these comments as well. Like, we can't just act as if these guys are living under a rock and don't see these comments.
Especially the Turks, right? Especially the Turks.
Yeah.
And I even saw I don't know if I didn't see him say it on air or anything, but I saw a quote from Güntekin Kinonay even criticizing, saying that a couple of weeks ago, Sergen made a nonsensical statement saying that it's a keeper's job to concede goals or something. I didn't even see that quote. But then he said, Ersin took it too hard and only concedes goals. And again, I mean, Ersin had I thought a really good first half. We had one really good save. And yeah, did he have a bad game yesterday? I don't think so. I think he was fine.
No, there's nothing wrong with it.
He was
the only thing I think about is I think we do need someone better, and I think for modern football especially, I think we probably need someone with better distribution, which you can't really find in Turkey.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I'm not going to sit here and say that Ersin is my ideal goalkeeper. There's certain aspects about Ersin that I really, really like. I think he's a really good in the air goalkeeper. He's calm, collected. You saw it against Fenerbahce, right? Like, he played a great game against Fenerbahce. And if not for that last minute scandal of a penalty, he would have been the man of the match in that game. I think in the second half of the season, for the most part, Ersin has been really, really good. With a slip up here and there, but he's played some really good games in the second half of the season ever since the arrival of Vasquez.
But Vasquez, who we'll see next week, should be interesting.
Who knows, right? Like, maybe we see Emre Bilgin or something. So I wouldn't put it past Sergen right now.
Yeah. There's a particular performance I wanted to talk about. I thought Kristjan Asllani was dreadful yesterday. I don't know what you thought. I mean, maybe dreadful's an exaggeration, but I just feel like the guy brings absolutely nothing. Like, I was expecting when this guy came that he could be like Misrati, but just a bit faster, but just smaller. But I don't see the ball playing ability of Misrati, and I don't see anything defensively. I just feel like he's a very, very basic player and doesn't really bring anything. I'm struggling to see why he's such a.
I don't think he's a basic player. There's definitely some quality there. There's some technical ability there for sure. But I agree with you. You know, when Musrati arrived, and even when Musrati was not playing his best games, he still had at least every game like 2 or 3 balls to the wings where you're like, oh, what a pass.
Yeah.
And I agree. I expected that from Asllani as well, and he doesn't have those. He tried it a few times in the first half, and they didn't come off. And I understand what you mean. There was an interesting take from Umut Öztürk. I think he's one of the Sports Digital guys, and he does a lot of tactical analysis. And he said that Asllani is a very specific player, and we were talking about this earlier, how you have, I think with those 5 guys that are going to form our spine, you have the luxury that they're not system specific. And Umut made the point that Asllani is a very system specific player. Like, he is used to playing with a 3-man back line and 2 wing backs, and you know, a 3-4-3 or a 3-5-2, whatever. He's used to playing in that sort of a system, and the Beşiktaş style just doesn't really suit him. I do think, however, that if he wasn't 11 million euros, like, he could make for a perfectly fine rotational player for us. He's definitely not starting material, and we have Carlo Holse, who very unfortunately now, what did
he's out for the rest of the season.
Did he tear his Achilles, or what exactly happened?
He's touring something. Let's have a look at that announcement. But
yeah, I thought it was his Achilles or something. So
yeah, I'm quite saddened to say just now that I think Carlo Holse might be the best number 6 that we have.
I don't think so, because I think defensively he's lacking. I think Ndidi is definitely a lot better defensively. But
of course he is. But I mean, if you look at the football we played against Antalyaspor, was that not the best we've played in a long time?
It was, but also it was.
I think he's got a big part to play in that.
Yeah, he was great. He was great in that game, but also Antalyaspor aren't great. So I don't know. I think it's a little premature to say something like that based on one performance. And we've seen Carlo before this season. Far too less, I would like to add, because you said something about not rewarding players for giving them the chances to play when they deserve it. And I feel like Carlo has been one of the main victims other than Jota. But with Carlo, you can't really make sense of it, because he is our player. Like, why is Carlo not getting those opportunities? Why is Salih Uçan getting opportunities ahead of Carlo, right?
Yep. So it says the inner and outer side ligaments in his ankle, and let me see. And
torn or
yeah, it's completely torn, torn.
Oh wow.
So it's Tamcat. So the full layer's ripped, and those inner and outer side ligaments of his ankle.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like something that's gonna take him out for probably.
We know he's out. We know he's out for the rest of the season.
Oh yeah, and probably for at least September, October, maybe November of next season. So that's a big blow for him, because it's a shame, because for me, I always said this, Carlo and Demirege. With Demirege, you have a player that you can get good money for. So I was always in favor, sell Demirege, keep Carlo. Carlo is 25, good age, he's in his prime, and he's a player. He's good enough to be a rotational player for us. And it's a shame, because this is a really, really poorly timed injury for him, because he just played that great game against Antalya, like you said. Maybe he was it can also have a positive impact on how a coach views you, because I did have the impression that Sergen, with that choice, said, okay, he's ahead of Salih for me now. And if he
which is strange, because he was playing Salih in every game and Kartal couldn't get a sniff.
Yeah, exactly. It's strange. And then suddenly he does start Kartal, which indicates that maybe, Kartal did something in training to convince him. I know Kartal's good friends with Orkun, so maybe that had something to do with it. So I don't know.
No, honestly, I think Kartal is a good player, man, and should have played a lot more than he has this season. I think that's a disgrace. 100%. Also, Demi Rege's treatment before he went to Braga was a disgrace as well. Those two players were hard done by this season. Demi Rege, look, he's flourishing at Braga now. He's had a couple of good performances in recent times. Hopefully, he keeps on doing that. Hopefully, he can be very successful there and make a move from there as well after that, because we need players to go from our academy and be successful, so that we can prove that the Beşiktaş academy is a good place for players to develop, so that we can demand bigger fees in the future.
Yeah, definitely. For me, Kartal, that's for me the biggest scandal. Decision for like the one I have the most issue accepting. Like I understand maybe not playing Jota. I understand certain decisions. Like I can see how those could potentially make sense depending on how deals are constructed and so forth and so on. But Kartal Yilmaz is your player. He's your academy player. He has certain qualities. He's proven himself at Umraniye. He's proven himself at Kayserispor. He's like they say in the wrestling business, he's put in his he's proven his dues, or whatever they say it. I think he's done that as well. I think he has proven himself to a certain extent, and he deserved more playing time. And then you have Salih Uçan, who's been with us for 6 years now, 5 years, 6 years,
five,
and he's on the end of his contract. Maybe Sergen wanted to see, is he worth giving a 1 year extension to? I don't know, but you have Kartal, so it feels like no. I mean, Salih's 32. Like I have to say that when Salih did come on in the matches so far this season, I think he's been fine, but.
Yeah, he's been fine, man. But one of them's 32 and the other one's 25, man, and your academy product.
Yeah.
So I think Kartal should be playing, man. And I'm not just saying that because we have the same name. He legitimately deserves to play. And
you were saying that back in 2019 because you had the same name, but you're not saying that anymore.
To be fair, he did play very well when he came on against Braga.
Was it Braga?
I thought it was the Braga game. Okay. Braga at home, he came on and I thought he was our best player. Yeah. I mean, which wasn't hard because we were fucking absolutely dog shit in that Europa League campaign. So that wasn't hard at all. But maybe after that, I showed a bit of bias after that performance because he didn't really show too much after that. But
which is understandable, right? You're 18, 19 years old. So for some players, if you're really, really exceptional, like you can rise to the occasion at those young ages. For many players, it's gonna take like some experience and years under your belt, and you saw it even, was it last season or this season? I don't remember. With Kartal, I think it was a couple of seasons ago with Kartal, where he came back from Oranje or something, and it's like he had a really good season there, or 2 really good seasons there, and I was very excited about him. And then he played for us, and it's like he's like a deer caught in the headlights. Like the moment was too big for him.
It was like, if you remember, he started against Kayserispor in the first game in the 22-23 season, and I think part of the reason why he didn't look so good is I think Kartal has got better deeper playing at the 6. He played him at the 8, but he wasn't very, very impressive at all in that game, and I think he got yanked at the half, and we played better after he came off. So I agree, and then we loaned him out again, which I think in the long term has been better for him. I think this year is the first time I think he's actually looked like he belongs. That's a testament to him for all the hard work he's put in over the years. This year he has looked like he belongs and he deserves to be a Beşiktaş football player.
Yeah, but then it also proves that sometimes you just have young players from the academy who need more time. I think Fatih Aksoy was a player like that. Like, I never quite understood why we just allowed him to leave. I think we gave him away in a trade or something. I don't remember exactly, but he was a fine Super League level player at Sivasspor and later at Alanyaspor. And how do you not keep someone like that? He's from your academy. He's got several solid seasons in the Super League under his belt. He's still your player, and then you just give him away in some deal. No, keep him from squad depth instead of wasting another $1.5 million or whatever on the next Gökhan Sazda Kazma from Anadolu. Just keep your academy players who know what it's like to be in that Beşiktaş surrounding. And for example, this guy, I've mentioned him many times. Berkay Kençtümür is a player that I really liked in the under-19s the last couple of years in the academy, and we allowed him to just go and walk away. He's now playing, I think he's playing İkinci Lig or Üçüncü Lig or something, but he's a Musrati style 6, and he's got like 10 goals or something in 20 games in the İkinci or Üçüncü Lig. Look, that's a low level, I know that, but like, why do we just let him go? Like, loan him or something, fine, but don't just let him walk away. He was the captain of the under-19s where Semi played in. There's a reason for that, and there are players there, but we just don't. I think it's almost dumb luck that we've had so many youth players come through in the last couple of years and do well enough to either warrant a move abroad or whatever, but like, we do a really bad job at taking care of those kids.
I just want to draw attention to a comment from Honestly Charin. I've just verified it on Twitter there. I was just scrolling. Sardar Adil's announced that it's 14 million over 5 years for the Nike deal, which works out at 2.6 million euros annually. So it's a lot less than we were expecting. But without it's even more pathetic. See if this is true. Apparently, we were only getting 800,000 euros a year from Adidas.
2.2 million euros a year from Adidas is what Ural said the other day, and I'm pretty sure he's right.
Artan Suzgun has put out a tweet.
But they...
This is a quote. He said, Nike'dan 5 senede 14 milyon euro civarında para alacağız. Adidas'tan senelik 800 bin euro alıyorduk. So that's what, in 5 years, we're going to get around 14 million euros from Nike. From Adidas, we're getting 800,000 a year. Is what that means.
That's not true. I'm sure that's not true.
I mean, that's what he's saying anyway. Our president, man, we need to be taking the order of our president. Come on, could this guy ever lie to us, Ken?
Pathological liar, man. The guy. Let's be honest. I don't believe that. I believe what Ural said was right because I remember vaguely the announcement. And back then,
I'm sure it will be, man.
It was like 2.2 million a year, I think, which was pathetic as well.
So Fenerbahçe are getting like 11 million, I'm sure.
How is that possible? I don't understand. How is that possible? Sure, they sell more shirts than we do, but they don't sell triple our shirts. We sell crazy. In a good season. We sell 500,000 shirts easily. So how is it possible?
We are still like, even in our worst season, we made the 18th most kit revenue at all European clubs. In our worst season, 23-24.
So how is it possible that you can't get a good deal with these companies? I don't understand. How is it possible that...
And see, the thing is, can't see if what Ural is saying is correct. What will upset me more is if we left an Adidas original shirt on the table for 0.4 million more a year.
So, well, supposedly we are getting a larger cut from the manufacturers. So from Adidas we got like, I'm just gonna say this is not verified or anything, but like let's say 30%, and supposedly from Nike we're getting more. I don't know how much more. Maybe it's 40, maybe it's 50, I don't know. But that could be big, right? Because if you sell 500,000 shirts at 100 euros a shirt, that's 50 euros per shirt before taxes, right? That's that's how much would that be? Let's see.
So basically, Sardar Adil's made a statement. So he said, sponsorship with Adidas was 850,000 a year. With Nike, it's going to be 2.6 million a year. If we could commit to selling 700,000 shirts a year, we could get the same amount of money that our rivals do, but we're only able to commit to selling 250,000 a year. Roy said.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, then, if that's the case, man, you need to invest money so that the team can perform well again, because we know at our peak we were selling 500,000 shirts a year.
If we can sell 500,000 shirts a year and we get 50 euros per shirt, that would be our cut. That would be 25 million euros. So if we have a higher stake, if that is true, but then I think Adala would have said that if that were true.
Yeah, I can't see it. You can't see anything on the timeline about that, man.
Yeah. So because that would be, I understand not being able to commit to selling 750 or 700,000 shirts a year, because that is a lot. The only way that even our rivals sell those numbers is because they have, well, Galatasaray has a company that buys, like, what was it, 75,000 shirts or something?
Oh, if this is true, this is a scandal, man. Allegedly, well, according to Sardar Adil, a very truthful president, he said we were getting to 850,000 euros from Adidas. He said this was a naked income, which I don't know what the fuck that means, to be honest, a naked income. then he said we had 2.5 million euros a year in terms of what we were paying for the stock that we used. So apparently we were paying Adidas 2.5 million a year for the goods. He says that was coming out of our pocket in the Adidas agreement, but now Nike's going to basically cover the products. But that means, if that's true, then does that mean we were actually losing money from the Adidas deal?
No.
I suppose if we're making a good cut from the shirts, I suppose we would have still been in the green.
I think what he's saying is that so all the stock we had in Kartaljuvase, whether it's shirts or Adidas Originals or whatever, like anything with the Adidas brand on it, we bought that from Adidas and then we sold it. So it's basically like if you own a shop, you can.
Yeah, no, I understand.
So you can. Let's say
Nike, essentially, they're going to provide us with the stuff for free.
Yeah, but they might actually take
They'll still get a cut on the goods.
They might get a bigger cut actually, because they would be taking more risk. So what Adidas is doing there is take less risk, because obviously they get their money already, and maybe that.
Yeah. So essentially, he's just trying to dress it in a way that makes it seem better, but it might not actually be a whole lot better.
That's what he's doing. Yeah. But to me, what seems logical is that in the Adidas deal, if that is true, that we would have had a bigger cut of the shirt sales from Adidas.
Yeah,
that
surely.
That would make more sense, because now the Nike deal, it makes much less sense for us to get a bigger cut, because Nike are taking all the upfront risk, because let's say they produce 250,000 shirts and we only sell 200, and they're stuck with 50,000 shirts backstock. Now, we are always going to sell 250,000 shirts. That won't be a problem. I mean, if we make a couple of good signings, and we'll sell 500,000. But I mean, look, these rumors have been the last couple of weeks. We've been seeing that the rumor of us already ordering training gear for the training camp or something, and that's a crisis.
Having to pay a fee for that.
I mean, what can you believe what this man says anymore? Like, he's such a pathological liar. He always tries to dress everything up to look good for him, and everything he promises, he underdelivers. You can't take this guy serious anymore. So when he tries to make something seem good, you just know there's something fishy about what he's saying. So it's a pathetic deal, man. 2.6 million a year, everything paid up front, by the way, as well. So that means we won't be seeing any income from Nike in the next 5 years. We won't be seeing any income from Beko in the next 3 years. And we won't see any income from Tüpraş in the next 3 years. So that's 45 million in revenue income that we won't be seeing in the next 3 to 5 years. Now, it has to be said that if we get out of the bank union agreement, that frees up almost 50 million in budget every season. So it's worth it, but I am afraid we might run into cash flow issues and that we'll have to take out a new loan again. In fact, we had to take out a new loan a couple, like 2 months ago or something. I think we had to take out a 21 million euro loan. We've supposedly already repaid it, but we've repaid that apparently with this sponsorship money. We've repaid it with that sponsorship money. And the rest of that 24 million remaining is going to go towards the bank union. And then the 2.2 billion lira down payment for the Coulibaly, which we will get up front, is also going to be used to get out of the bank union agreement. So we are going to likely exit bank union agreement with an outstanding interest that will be paid back over 3 years. So hopefully we won't have to pay interest on the interest. But it's going to be interesting to see, like, because people are talking about the summer and about the transfers we're going to do this summer, and I've seen numbers float around of a 100 million euro budget for the summer transfers, because of course we spent close to 100 million this past season. People conveniently ignored that we sold Abraham as well for 20 million, so really the net spending is closer to 80 than it is 100. But people are hyping up the summer and creating really high expectations, but I don't know, where's that money gonna come from then? Where are we going to get this supposed 100 million euros? Our entire annual turnover is close to 100 million. So that's roughly what the club makes in a year, is 100 million. And take out those sponsorship income now, because it's annually 15 million or so in sponsorships that are gonna be spent already. So I don't know. I'm very curious how the summer is gonna go. I would not be surprised if it's gonna be a very frustrating summer, but I also think if Adala fucks up the summer, it's over for him. It's end of the ride for him. He's not gonna make it until the end of the season. If we go into next season and we're out of the title race again in October, November, like fans are gonna. I don't think anyone will have patience left. Like, he has to go. He's like literally, he'll be marched around Istanbul and everyone will be shaming him, right?
Yeah.
Shall we get into some of these comments, Cartel?
Yeah. I'll just go through some of the ones that stand out.
Yeah, go ahead.
Right. Let's have a look.
2.6 million a year. Like, even the 3 million that was being talked about before was pathetic. This is even worse. Like, this is typical Adala, right? Like, there's stuff leaks out, and you think, oh my, that's horrible, and then the truth is even worse.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy, man. Like, it's not even 15 million, man. It's fucking 14.
That's ridiculous.
It's pathetic. And that's over 5 years.
It just reinforces as well, like the fact that we are by far not even close. We're by far the third club. Like, we're not even close to being number 2 at this point. Like, even sponsors don't take us serious. Yeah,
I mean, it's mad how everything's changed, because 10 years ago we were by far and away getting the best sponsors.
Yeah.
And now it's the opposite.
Yeah.
That just shows, because the last 5 years we've not been competitive. We've not. I mean, really, other than half a season with relegation to the 22-23 season, we've been not competitive, man.
Yeah.
We haven't been competitive, which is a disgrace for a club like ours not to be competitive for 5 years.
Yeah, it really is.
But yeah. Anyway, let's read these comments. If I keep going on about it's not being competitive for 5 years, it won't be too good for my mental health. Let's see. So RJ1TRRC680.
By the way, guys, smash the like button, please, if you're watching live or on delay. hit the like button, please.
So he said that our midfield is extremely weak, and as for our wings, they can't even dribble. I mean, with Ndidi, I wouldn't say our midfield is weak, but with Ndidi, we lack the being able to progress the ball without Orkun going back.
I mean,
without Ndidi, I think with Asllani, yeah, it was weak. I didn't enjoy.
I didn't have the feeling in this game that our midfield was getting overrun or anything like that. Really, ever since Olaitan arrived, I feel like our midfield has become quite combative. And he was.
Yeah. I like Olaitan, man. Olaitan is actually maybe my favourite transfer we've made, but I think yesterday was maybe one of his worst games.
Yeah, it was very sloppy, but he was still winning a lot of duels.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of Olaitan, man. People that say that Jedson isn't, I think Olaitan's better than Jedson, man. That's my opinion. I think he's more of a complete player. Let's see, Grey Wolf. I did not watch the game, but from what I gather, Cengiz was horrible. They should not even entertain the thought in transferring him on a full-time basis. I agree. RJ, I'm just going to call you RJ, man, because reading that full name's out of my mouthful. RJ says, just like in the Fenerbahce match, this kid Oh Hyun-gyu is up front struggling all by himself, trying to make something happen, but the ball isn't. I think we need to put this boy in chances, man. This guy's scored 6 goals so far in the league from 2.9 XG.
6 in the league,
Yeah, 7 in all competitions. In the 6 goals in the league, he's came from 2.9 XG, so that means he should have scored less than half the goals he scored. So if we put this boy into positions, who knows how many he'll score.
Yeah, and I even forgot to... Cathal, did you see his finish last week? The one Olaitan assisted. Did you see that finish?
Both of his finishes were brilliant, man. The one that went top corner, and then the one where he put it in a tight angle, man, they were brilliant. Honestly, I was kind of thinking, I don't know if Hyun-gyu is a guy to take us forward, but really when you look at what he's done with what little he's got, it really should. No one should be doubting him, I think.
He deserves the
chance. No one should be doubting him.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you provide him with the service, for example, aerial service. I don't know if he has it in him to score a decent amount of headers. I don't know if that's part of
on the ground. He does, certainly.
For sure, on the ground he's a good finisher.
Yeah.
I would love to see us get Tolo Arokodare and pair them up, and have them as our duo, and then whether you play a 2-striker system or you kind of just rotate them a little bit. I don't know, but like I think those are two. I might much rather in the summer assign someone like Arokodare, someone to compete with O for the spot, rather than Lukaku, for example. Because if you get someone like Lukaku, and don't get me wrong, I love Lukaku, don't get me wrong. And part of me would love to see Lukaku in the Beşiktaş jersey. But if you get Lukaku, that's it for O. Then he is immediately relegated to be second fiddle. Whereas if you get Arokodare, then you have a situation where either you could play with 2 strikers, of course. You could also do that with Lukaku, but either you play with 2 strikers or you have a competition between strikers that are on the same level.
If you look at the 2016-17 season, like you cannot say that Beşiktaş had one number 1 striker. Abubakar and Cenk Tosun shared that role, which I think it was beautiful how they done that year.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Yeah,
they both stepped in for each other in others' difficult periods, and also not just that as well. When needed, they played together. It was a beautiful kind of tandem to have. Really, it was brilliant. Let's see. So RJ again. Aside from Orkun and O, with Černý and Olaitan as alternatives, I think Olaitan can start for Beşiktaş. Maybe we should sign someone else, but I think Olaitan's capable of starting.
Why make it difficult for yourself by creating yet another need? You have a perfectly good player who's 23. He's not even in his prime yet.
23.
Yeah, so why would you create another necessity to transfer yet another expensive player when you have a good one there? Right? Let's sign a good 6 or a good.
Yeah. So basically, he's saying apart from Orkun, Černý and Olaitan, no single other midfielder or forward should remain on the squad.
Kartal for the rotation for sure, but
Kartal for the rotation for sure.
Yeah.
I think.
No, I I think we're all kind of in agreement now that Kristjan Asllani will not be retained.
I think apart from Olitan on the bench, I think that's maybe quite a fair comment, other than Cartel, to be honest, RJ. Let's see.
But who else do we have? We have Kristjan Asllani, Ndidi, and Sali. That's the only midfielders we have, right? Except for Cartel. So Ndidi for me is I would love. I think for me,
you keep Ndidi, man. You can't keep him, but
I think Ndidi. I hope we get a good offer for him and then we sell him.
Yeah, if the offer comes, you sell him. If you don't, you keep him. He's not someone that should be discarded for free.
No, of course not. No. But I do hope an offer comes and that we sell him.
Yeah, I'd like to sell him. Ideally, I'd like to sell him, sign Sangare, and then Carthel can be his backup. Because why not? I think Carthel's good enough to be the backup 6.
I mean, Cartel is going to be probably a non-factor for a couple of months, so we probably have to sign 2 midfielders realistically. So you could sign someone. You could sign someone like Simon. What is it? Simon from Gustepe? Is it Simon?
Is it Dennis?
Dennis, yeah. Why am I saying Simon? Dennis. Yeah, Emmanuel Dennis. You could sign someone like him, and then maybe a higher profile 6, for example, and then you have a really good young 21-year-old, someone like Dennis, and then you could have like maybe a more proven player. But even like, let's say Ndidi stays, then I think it would also be very interesting to get someone like Dennis. That would probably be I mean, but if you can sell,
push him and maybe win that spot off him. If
you can sell Ndidi for close to 10 million, then
Yeah, I don't think Ndidi should be like. We definitely need another 6. Ideally, someone that can also play the ball as well as defend. That's what I want to see. They don't need to be elite. They don't need to be like Nusrati, giving those like defense splitting passes, but just someone that's a bit more capable with the ball at their feet. Ideally, Ndidi should be sold, but at the same time, he's not someone that should be discarded as if he's trash as well. The Dutch Eagle here, Ura, has said, why was a different lineup not even an option? 2 strikers instead of wingers who do not cut it at the moment. Sargan has 0 flexibility even about playing in far. So basically, Ura would like to see Sargan maybe play with Owen Bilal together up top. I think Sergen Yalchin as a coach, he's never really been a coach that you've seen a lot of flexibility. Really, he'll play that 4-1-4-1 or a 4-2-3-1. I don't think I've ever seen him play with a back 3. Have you, Ken?
Don't think so. Maybe at Malatya.
I don't even think I've seen him play 2 strikers for Beşiktaş anyway, maybe at another club, but I don't think he's ever actually started a game 2 strikers at Beşiktaş.
No, but also, if you're going to play 2 strikers, like that only creates, in my opinion, more necessity for wingers or wing backs. And you have one, but you don't have a second, so we just don't have a squad to play. I don't know, man. Like we don't have a complete squad, I think. More so than last season.
If you want my honest opinion on the whole 2 strikers thing, I think it's a bit outdated, especially in a 4-4-2. I think 3-5-2 works more, but like, what team plays with a 4-4-2 just now and is successful?
I was looking at something the other day, and it was a team that plays 4-4-2, and I saw it a couple times before. A really big team. Real Madrid? Yeah, Real Madrid play 4-4-2.
All right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, on paper they play 4-4-2.
Yeah.
And I was really surprised by that because.
Yeah, so they do.
Yeah. But they do. Yeah. That's not always, but since the coach change, since
Arbeloa.
Arbeloa, yeah. Since Arbeloa came in, they've been playing 4-4-2, and they've been getting results. So it's still
interesting.
It still works, but yeah, it's not ideal, probably. But you have to have the players for that too. If you have the players for a good 4-4-2, then yeah, sure. But we don't. We don't have an Arda Güler to put on the left.
No, we do not. No, we do not. We certainly do not have that. Let's see. Ahmad has said, Asllani changed his name to Asllani. Yeah. I think I've been calling him that for a while.
That's harsh. I don't think
Raul
Aguilar means eagle.
Yeah, Raul Aguilar, our good friend from Panama. We're still waiting for you in the community chat, unless I haven't noticed and you have joined. Ersin is just a hothead that needs to control his anger. He does get angry quite a lot.
He swears at his teammates a lot. He cusses a lot. His teammates think it's hilarious, by the way. Like, the most funny thing is when Ersin starts swearing to them. Like, they think it's hilarious, apparently.
Yeah. And then we've already talked about what Honor said, so thanks for that comment, Honor. We've addressed that already.
Great. Thank you, Honor. It's a great contribution.
Yeah. Sebastian, because I wouldn't have clocked it if he didn't say it, to be fair. I only looked into it after he said. Sebastian says he's afraid he'll just use the sponsorship money to save his seat instead of investing in the future. So from that, I take it Sebastian means like short-term moves to win now. Perhaps. I don't know. So far, he's not done that, but he might get desperate.
Yeah, but
he might get desperate.
Even if he does, if we actually win, that's not the worst thing in the world, because I do think Beşiktaş need that. They need like a reanimation almost. Like we're like an old dead man at this point. Like we need something to revitalize that corpse. I don't know. Like a cup win could do something, but it's only we saw it 2 years ago. Like a cup win can give you a boost temporarily, but it's not enough. Like what this club really needs is Champions League money, and the only way to get that is by finishing top 2. So next season, that's what we need. That needs to be the goal next season, top 2. And if you look at how this season has gone, there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to get top 2, because Trabzonspor and Fenerbahce are not levels above us. Like I feel like last season there was like this massive gap between us, Galatasaray and Fenerbahce, and I feel like that gap has not become bigger this season because
which is strange because last year we actually got favourable results against them. We won 3 out of the 4 games, and this year we've not won any.
Cartel, I genuinely think, but of course it's a stupid thing to say, because if Ole had stayed, we would not have signed Agbadu. We would probably not have signed Orkun. Like the January transfers turned a lot of things around for us, I want to say, and I don't think we would have made those same transfers. But for the sake of argument, give Ole this squad, I think Ole does a better job than Sergen. But
also, I think the main thing is Ole would have done a better job with what he had, man, and Rafa Silva might still be a Beşiktaş player.
Maybe, yeah.
Whether that's a good or a bad thing. Who knows? Maybe it could have been different, man, if Ole stayed, but because I mean, it really seemed like that guy was fucked over, man. Just the fact that we didn't sign any wingers until after he left, it was weird, man.
In Sergen's defense, though, the wingers we signed were not very good. So,
I mean, generally done the job for a while.
Yeah, he did
in that period.
Yeah, for a bit. Yeah. But let's be honest, the wingers we needed still haven't arrived. We need marquee winger signings, and even at the time we said like Černý. We were disappointed with Černý, if you remember. Like,
Scott Olsen. Was it Rangers?
Scott Olsen would have been good, but would he have been the marquee winger? I don't know if he would have been the marquee winger either.
No, he's not marquee. Like, I don't know how well he probably would have performed. Sancho would have been the marquee winger.
He was great at Club Brugge, Scott Olsen, but I don't know how he's doing at Rangers right now. But
he's doing okay. He's not really setting the world on fire, but. But let's be honest, he's doing a lot better than Jadon Sancho is at Aston Villa.
I mean, I'm just looking at Rangers, 10 appearances, 1 goal, 3 assists. That's in 10 games, 4 goal contributions is okay, right? It's not. It's Černy's doing better. Let's just say it that way, numbers wise at least.
I mean, really, I don't know, because 4 and 10 vs 12 and 26. It's close.
It's close, yeah. It's not very far.
Yeah, and also, I don't know if you watch... Černý done better for Rangers, I felt. than Scott Wilson's doing just now.
But
so
then again,
I don't know.
Is the Scottish League really a league we should be looking at where a player did well and we can say, oh, definitely bring that player in because he did well in Scotland? I think you need to have done really, really, really well in Scotland. Like Matt O'Reilly, he did really well at Celtic, right? Like that could be interesting, for example. There's been other players, obviously, in recent years that have done phenomenal in Scotland. And I think if you can get like a player that has like really crazy numbers in Scotland, but if
you look, the best centre back of the last generation played in Scotland.
You mean Van Dijk?
Yeah, played for Celtic.
He's been overrated for years.
You think so?
I think so, yeah.
I can't say I watch him, but he's known as one of the best, or the best centre back of the generation.
He's definitely, he was very good for a couple of years. Then he had a really bad injury, and I feel like he was never the same afterwards. But he still has the same hype machine behind him that he did before. It feels like I don't know. He's I don't know. Sometimes I just feel like he's just pointing instead of defending. But yeah. Any other comments that we should get to?
Ahmad said, did you see some of the predicted 11s of the summer?
Oh, yeah.
People have Sancho, Grimaldo, Trafford in their selections, and then Sebastian said, bro, not the Sancho rumours again. Yeah, I think they just need to die, man. That guy, I think that guy's left the football. Football's left him, I think, man. Don't think there's much point in talking about Sancho.
I don't know. I would still take the punt for the right conditions. Maybe. But I kind of want a certainty at the left wing, so... But Grimaldo, that's like, how? Like, this guy is like, he's a left back and he is like consistently 20 plus goal contributions for like 7 years or something. He's an absolute beast of a player. Yeah. Like, there's no chance. Like, we have no business in signing this guy. Like, if he comes to Turkey, it would be Galatasaray, you would think. But why would he come to Turkey? He's 30 years old.
I don't know, man. Apparently, Leverkusen want to rebuild their team. Well, that's what I read anyway.
Yeah, sure. But why would he come to Turkey? Like, he could just go to, I don't know, Atletico Madrid or something, or Liverpool, or I don't know, Tottenham. I
think Premier League teams, once they hit 30, are just less likely to touch them.
Yeah, maybe. But look at his numbers, Cathal. I think he has like 27 goal contributions last season, and he's above 20 again this season, I'm sure. Like, he's insane. Like, his numbers, they're like, what was that Rangers fullback called? The English
Tavernier.
Yeah, Tavernier. Like, same numbers as Tavernier, but in the Bundesliga and in Portugal. You know, like, insane numbers. Like, I don't even want to think about what his contract demands would be. Like, would I like to see him in a Beşiktaş shirt? Yeah, of course. Yeah. But is it realistic? I don't think so. Plus, I mean, is it wise to perhaps make a left back your best paid player on the team? I would imagine that would upset locker room balance a little bit as well. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't say no to him for the right. Obviously, look, if he would come for like $4 million a year, and maybe a 10, you know, I don't know what is he. I think he might be out of contract. I'm not sure. But like, yeah, I mean, for $4 million a year or something, yeah, please. But you know, that's not very realistic. I don't think. I think people are kind of with their heads in the cloud.
Yep. In terms of Raul said about O did play for Celtic. That's right, but he was very young.
Yeah, he was like 21 or something. Yeah.
Yeah, so he only played there like 2 years and didn't play much, to be honest.
Yeah.
And actually, quite a lot of people I've spoken to thought he was kind of hard done by and played well when he got the chance. Yeah,
it's the
so
same,
that's true.
It's the same at Genk, right? Like, he performed when he got the chance, but he was always behind Rokodari there, and I think that's part of it. The reason why O is performing well for us is because I think this is the first time in his club career outside of Korea where he is the number one. And I think that's something that really motivates him and helps him. So that's also part of why I don't really think it would be wise to bring in, that Baba striker that people have been talking about, someone like a Romelu Lukaku, because if you bring in Lukaku, then all becomes number 2 per default. If you bring in Orokodare, then you don't create that, and you create maybe a situation where 2 players will be pushing each other to perform. Whereas with Lukaku, he's always going to be number 2. Unless Lukaku doesn't perform, and then after a while all will take over, but then you will be left with a dead in the water Lukaku, right? On 10 million a year or something.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. That's it in terms of the comments, Can. Would you want to wrap it up?
Yeah, let's wrap it up. Let's talk a little bit about Alanya. So, of course, Alanya on Thursday in the Turkish Cup at home for Beşiktaş. Single-legged confrontation. Beşiktaş have not beaten Alanyaspor this season. We lost 2-0 away and we drew 2-2 at home against them in the league. So, it would be our first victory over Alanya. It's, of course, a must-win match for us. And then, if we advance, we will be playing against the winners of the Konyaspor-Fenerbahçe game. And, of course, Fenerbahçe have Galatasaray on the weekend in the derby, which is their final chance at the title. If they don't beat Galatasaray on the weekend, it's 100% over. So I would not be surprised if Konyaspor beat Fenerbahçe, because Fenerbahçe are going to be mentally looking towards that derby. And it's an away game for them in Konya. Konya are going to be highly motivated regardless. Let's not forget Konyaspor are one of the 2 teams to beat Galatasaray this season in the league. So one of the 3 teams, because Trabzon also beat them. So it wouldn't surprise me if Konya actually knock Fenerbahçe out. And then if we manage to get past Alanya, the next game, the semifinals, will be played in the week of the 7th of May, a week before the other semifinals because of the Europa League final, which is scheduled to be played in our stadium. So, 2 massive games. But first we have to get over this hurdle on Thursday. We do that, we will go into the semi-final and hopefully go on to the final. Because otherwise, for me, if we don't reach the final of the Turkish Cup, then I don't see a reason why Sergen should stay if he fails to deliver on that. Because to me, that kind of then proves that he's not able to get the best out of this team. Because I think if you can't get past Alanyaspor in such an important game, where you can tell that all the players, they've been saying it for 2 weeks now in their post-game interviews as well, like, it's the cup. Everyone's thinking about the cup. So I expect to see the best Beşiktaş on Thursday. And I expect to see the best Beşiktaş in that semi-final as well, Kartal. Like, for me, not seeing the best Beşiktaş yesterday is not that big of a deal. But if we don't see the best Beşiktaş on Thursday, that's a big alarm bell for me. If we scrape by, and if in that semi-final, whether it's against Konya or Fenerbahçe, but especially if it's against Fenerbahçe, if we don't make a statement, that's detrimental for me for Sergen, because I think that's his only opportunity to win over the critical fans right now, because I think he has a lot of fans on his side that they were calling for all his head for months. They wanted Sergen or Şenol Güneş. Now slowly but surely that Şenol Güneş crowd is starting to stir again. But I think
it's ridiculous, man. Who would have thought, man? But it's the guy's bloody 7 years old now, man. Come on, to fuck.
Yeah.
The guy's got no business on a touchline.
Yeah. I mean, we did play our best football in the last 4 years under him, arguably, right? No,
I don't know, man. I still think, in terms of actual pure football, man, I'd say there's a couple of games under Ollie, a good few games under Gio, and then actually a couple of games under Valerie Nismail as well.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. The foreign coaches, Kartal. Who'd have thunk it? Yeah. For the most part, under Şenol, it was just Abubakar, right?
And Bismillah, man.
And Redmond, that one game, and Cenk, who wasn't completely done yet.
No, Cenk was fucking good, man, in that period.
Yeah. definitely.
Scored like, what, 15 goals from playing from left wing that year?
He might have, yeah. Anyway, thank you, Carlo, for joining me tonight. And of course, thanks everyone
It's a
for
pleasure.
joining us today as well. Hope to see you again. What time is the cup game on Thursday, Carlo? I don't know.
So look, I just had it up there.
Yeah.
18:45 in the UK, so that means it's quarter to 9 in Turkey.
Yeah.
And it'll be 19:45 in Belgium.
So we'll see when we go live. Maybe after the game, probably Friday, depending on what works for you or for Sinan. We'll see. But hopefully see you guys again. Those of you watching, whether you're watching live or on delay, please smash the like button. Hit the join or go to join button on YouTube, or go to patreon.com/Beşiktaş to join us there. And you can go and check out that video I did with Ural, Le Financier, Alhan midweek, an hour long, talking about the finances of the club. Go and check that out if that interests you. But join us again next week for the post-Alanyaspor episode, which game of the season for now, Cartel, and hopefully we get two more games of the season out of that one.
Yep.
All right. Thanks,
3
everyone.
finals left, man.
Yeah, 2 finals left. You're right. 3 finals.
3.
Yeah. So thanks, everyone, and see you again next week. Bye.
Thank you very much to our members: Nathan Davis, Farish Karar, Tristan Day, Michael Barry, Umar Günan, Faisal Yaylagood, Sanfad Özdemir, Efe Sözen, Hokştalay Wednesday, Özcan Oğuz, Atılcan Malak, Mertan Mert, Oğuz Özgürlük, Eray Gündür, Serkan Özen, Ali J, Dara, the Irishman, Hennessy, Mario 1 and a 2 and a 3 Vargas, Onur Sakash, Nia Parish, Sebastian, the not sporting director, Heinrich, Omata K2H, that's a new one, I think, man, welcome, the Vigilante Tuck, Nasty Naz Nasser, and the Financier, the Dutch Eagle. Thank you very much, everyone. Keep your